I'm really honored, sir. Thank you so much, sir. And we have among ourselves Shri Rakshat Tandon, sir, also. He happens to be one of the best cyber security investigator as well as trainer across India I've ever come up. And it's an honor to me and my team and all, sir. You have joined among ourselves, sir, on very
My
short
pleasure.
notice, sir.
My pleasure.
So,
My pleasure.
For the viewers, I would like to tell you that Rakshat ji is that persona. If you think about it, in this technology, in this era, there is a serious need for the whole country to gear up for the attack and the smart AI based attack that might come in the future, right? To train them, you have to be able to influence the mind of the students when they are still in that budding phase. And I know Rakshat ji has been doing that not just for the professionals but also in the schools, telling them that there is something like this that you can gear up to, and this is very important. And so having done that, sir, is amazing.
Score exact, but yes, it is somewhere around 4.2 million kids I have addressed till date now. So the cybercrime has definitely matured a lot, and especially during the COVID time when the whole traffic was online, we were working from home, and these hackers, they left no opportunity unturned where they can attack. And if I go back to the investigation when I started in 2008 with state police, I used to see a lot of social engineering crimes and immature crimes. But now with the advancement of technology, and as rightly said, artificial intelligence, bots, rootkits, APTs, advanced persistent threats, payloads, malicious payloads, and ransomware, which is the biggest threat as of now. And just recently, we must have heard that US Colonial Pipeline was attacked by a ransomware, and they had to pay lakhs and lakhs of millions and millions of dollars to recover their data. They had to pay the ransom. They had no other cost. So, if you are planning a career in cybersecurity, you have to understand it in a holistic approach. People, when you talk to them, oh, I want to be a hacker. No. Becoming a hacker is not becoming a cyber security professional. Hacker is one part of it. The ethical hacking is one small part of it. Finding vulnerabilities in network, finding vulnerabilities in applications, finding vulnerabilities in server is one part. Today, we have to train our upcoming generation with an approach of defense, offensive, and how do you recover from an attack. We, as institutions, as colleges, as universities, we talk about wonderful curriculum, ethical hacking, penetration testing, vulnerability assessment, forensics, investigation, digital forensics. There are so many verticals we have created, but I am seeing this thing which is missing called recovery management. We really need to train, because see, attack, nobody is 100% foolproof. Phishing is becoming sophisticated. So it is not that phishing that I want to open rakshattandon.com and somebody is taking me to rakshattondon.com. The letter size and the font of the A is changed, and we are not sitting with a microscope when we are typing websites. So sophisticated phishing attacks are happening. Scams, they have overflooded our country, and especially during COVID period and the second wave. It was so inhuman to see that people were hacking you in the name of oxygen, medicines, beds, by creating fake advertisements, attacking your wallet and stealing your hard-earned money. So that was very sad. Though we are arresting so many of these people, and Delhi police has done a wonderful job. The Delhi Cybercrime Unit has done a wonderful job by arresting these people. India is in the top 4 countries with recording highest cybercrime. Top 4 countries. So all this brings us down to the need of cyber security professionals. And when people talk to me, whether you are commerce, whether you are arts, whether you are BCA, whether you are a BTech, or whether you are electrical engineer or a chemical engineer, or you are a health specialist, cyber security fits in every domain. The knowledge of cyber security is required in every domain. So if somebody is hacking my health records, or somebody is hacking my electric grid system, so it doesn't mean that I will wait for a computer engineer to come and help me out. Or if I'm a management person and I'm running a company, or I'm running a software company, so my software programmers now need to mature themselves with hacking knowledge. I don't want traditional programmers now. Our industry needs secured coders. Our industry needs a programmer who knows what is database hacking and what is front end and back end hacking. And if he can find out those vulnerabilities, he can create an application which is secure. So cyber security fits in every career and every model, and that knowledge has to be made, I think, compulsory to every part of education. And then only we can create professionals in these three teams, the three main core areas: offensive hacking, defensive hacking, and defensive cybersecurity, and recovery. Even if you are attacked, then you should know how to recover as soon as possible with minimum damage. Now that knowledge is very important. See, I recently, you must have heard, Noida, there is a company called Haldiram, a restaurant. They were attacked by a ransomware. $7.5 lakh was claimed as a ransom, and the systems were down. And so these kind of threats are coming, and the viruses, they don't leave any strain where you can easily decrypt it. Though European Cybercrime Center and other security companies are doing. So cyber security is now decentralized. It is not that my laptop, I have an endpoint security, I have an antivirus, I have a bot remover, I have a malware remover, and so I am secure. So no, it is now decentralized. I am sitting right now here, we are sitting on a Google Cloud. I am connected to a Google Cloud. Somewhere on Google, this data is getting stored and information, the videos and audios are moving out. In the background, I am using hundreds of applications which are connected to the cloud. So cloud security becomes an important thing. Digital access management is another key area we are focusing on. So talking about the trends in simple words, yes, there are a lot of online scams happening. You have to be very careful how to protect your digital identity. So now today, in layman terms, my digital identity is my email ID and my SIM card. These are the two things. Today my bank doesn't recognize Rakshit Tandon. My bank recognizes my registered mobile number for every activity. And today my bank, previously in my bank there was one door that was called checkbook. But today I have 100 of doors in my bank. Debit card, net banking, mobile banking, Paytm, Google Pay, UPI, Bheem, PhonePe, Amazon Pay, credit card, so many accesses to my bank. So protecting your digital identity is very important. And your email account, because with email account I am connecting to my Twitter, my phone, and I have a verified account on Twitter. Somebody hacks my Twitter and posts that Rakshit Tandon is going to double your Bitcoin within hours. Invest in one Bitcoin and take back 2 Bitcoins. I don't know how many people will invest on Rakshit Tandon, and then you understand it is a scam or a fraud. So what is happening is that you have to know how to protect your digital identities, whether it is social media or whether it is your cloud. So I am running an Android phone, my Gmail ID is connected to my Google Cloud. I am running an Apple phone, my Apple ID is connected to my iCloud. So digital identity protection is important. Organizations should know how to protect their digital information and data especially. See, in this coming time, data breaches is again going to be the very serious threat. I don't know, in COVID times, people have been very carelessly sharing their data and information. I know it was a desperate time. We have gone through a very, very rough phase. And hats off to all our health workers and COVID warriors and organizations who have supported and helped us. But yes, we realize that after so many years of independence, this could also happen to our country. But during this time, I have seen people sharing data and information, whether it was Aadhaar card. Now, Supreme Court came out and said that, listen, Aadhaar card is not compulsory if you want to get a vaccine or you want to have some medicine or a hospital bed. But people in desperate times were sharing such personal information. We have seen some of the worst data breaches recently, whether it was BigBasket, 2 million data hacks, whether it was Domino's Pizza data breach, whether it was Dr. Lal Pet data breach. Health data is always considered as critical infrastructure. So every new day we have a new startup coming up with a mobile application. They are launching it and millions of customers are using it. But now who takes the responsibility of the data of the customer? Today, if you open up a website, there is an open source website which will tell you whether your data is breached or not. Now, if you go and check there, you will find that your data is getting breached since 2016 and you are not aware of it. And your passwords and your IP addresses, your locations are published on the dark web. Data is a new gold, it is a new oil, and also it is a very, very important catalyst to the rising cybercrime. Just to give you a case study and you will understand, lockdown was there. People were working from home, and for people working from home, their mobile and their internet was very, very important for them. A lady working in a multinational company receives a call, calling from Airtel. Your SIM card is, KYC is getting expired, your SIM card will be blocked. You need to do your e-KYC. So COVID times and social distancing, we can't call you to the office, so we have to do the e-KYC. Lady, educated lady working in a multinational company said, how can you call, say that you are from Airtel and call me from a private number? Now look at the consequences of data breaches. The gentleman said to the lady, no ma'am, I'm calling from Airtel, let me verify you. You have done 3 recharges in the last 3 months. The recharge amount was X, X, and X. The recharge date was so and so, so and so, so and so. And your mother maiden name is so and so, and you have purchased this SIM card and so from so and so place. Now the lady was back. Okay, yes, you are calling from Airtel. Sorry, I'm sorry. Okay, fine. Tell me what should I do? Well, I'm not asking any OTP or personal information. You just have to send one SMS to 121. And who is 121? Our authorized customer care. You have to send this SMS from your mobile and your KYC is done. And your SIM card will be deactivated for some time, so don't get worried. The lady, on the instructions of that person, she sent one SMS to 121. Do you know what was that SMS? Now, I don't know how many of you understand, there is a new technology for phones like Apple and Samsung, where they have only one slot for a SIM card, and that technology is called eSIM, embedded SIM, or we call it the programmable SIM. By sending that SMS, the eSIM of that customer was activated. A QR code was sent to the hacker's email. By scanning that QR code, the number of that lady got activated at the hacker's handset, and now the hacker was the owner of your digital identity, and so the Paytm or the bank or whatever, they only recognize your SIM card. This lady lost 18 lakh rupees from her bank account. In simple words, in criminal words, we call it SIM swapping fraud. But it was detected, it became successful because of data breaches. So, in cybersecurity, you have to know cryptocurrencies, you have to know encryption, decryption, you have to know blockchain, you have to know AI, deep machine learning, and you have to know VAPT. You have to know network penetration and network sanitization. You have to know SOC, security operations. And there are so many interesting subjects which makes you a good cyber security professional. Once again, I'm thankful to all of you who have invited me to this platform. So yes, any questions for me? Vijay sir or Arjun sir, if you have any questions for me.
First of all, sir, heartiest thankful to you, sir, to be the part of this platform for the first time. Sir, don't you think that there is a lack of preparedness among the government of India or probably the police departments? Academia can pitch into that to fill the void in between the technical knowledge what we can provide to them. Being a police university, we have been doing a lot of work in this direction.
Sir rightly said, yes, the skill updation of the police personnel is very, very important. And the crucial role can be played not only by the police academies, but by the academia like universities. The good story is that BPR&D, Bureau for Police Research and Development, MHA, have been very aggressively working to train the police officers, and I am a witness to it. If one of your police sub-inspector is trained and he has gone and attended a training, then bring him back and put him in cyber cell. Don't put him in a thana or the chowki. So that is one problem. Till date, as per my knowledge, as per IT Act, we have hardly 8 to 10 certified labs in the country. 8 to 10, that's it. And in every crime, not cyber crime, in murder, kidnapping, everywhere there is a bit of digital evidence. PDR, WhatsApp chat, mobile chat, and we have to wait for years to get the reports from forensic lab, because as per the law, there are only 8 or 7 or 9 certified labs. So this is where academia can play a role. Develop a lab, get it certified, and then in parallel with your state police, you run programs, train them, and you also help them to solve those cases. Try and understand. Today, investigation is being trained. Everybody knows how to track the footprint, trace the IP address, get the suspect. But now to prove the crime in the court of law, you need a lot of forensic evidence, digital, and that is an expertise field. You can't expect my constable, ASI or inspector to become a certified BTech engineer or a forensic expert. So that has to be coming from the academia. You create those forensic. And every state, I remember RPA, Rajasthan Police Academy, has also hired forensic consultants. And this was given under the CCPW scheme, the Cybercrime Prevention for Women and Children. They were ready to pay 1 lakh rupee salary. That every state police should hire forensic consultants. But where will they work? You need a forensic lab for that.
Yes,
So I
sir.
think that is where your academia can play a very important role. Trainings are happening. Police is getting trained now. CDR, IPDR, handling YouTube, Twitter, they are getting to understand. They are catching these jamtaras and vivat and phishing and wishing. But yes, we have to upgrade their resources, which is also a very important thing. So not only training will help, but you have to give them resources to solve cybercrime.
Yes, sir. Sir, that was fantastic. I was completely lost listening to you. So much of information. I was enjoying it. Really fantastic. So, with so much of experience, I want to ask a very naive question. Okay, I would like to put you in the situation where you are a recruiter. You have a company. You are now, let's say, starting a startup to create a system. What kind of a skill set would you look in an amateur? Just degrees, just the capabilities. What would you assess in them when you want to take a person or to train them or hire them, whichever way? What are the signs that you will look for?
So, to be a very good hacker, you have to think like a criminal. That is what I say always. So, it's the same skill set we look in a programmer or a developer, where whatever simple program you either code or you run, you always try to get into the background of that program, that kind of inquisitive knowledge level you have. So that makes it very easier for us to train them. And then cybersecurity is more about passion. And so people, they call me expert. I feel very embarrassed when they call me, but I say, yes, I'm an 18-year-old student in cybersecurity. So rather than calling me an expert, because every day there is a new threat coming up, and you should be very open and ready to learn. And you should have a very humble attitude and towards your education and knowledge. So we look at that passion skill basically, and we look at that breaking and creative skill also. And so that we can give them some live exercises to work on. To also we look for a social engineering skill set. Okay, I'm just giving you Vijay sir number. Give me 150 information about him through open source intelligence. I'm just giving Vijay sir's number and give me 150 crucial information and in less, how minimum time. So say for 15 seconds, 20 seconds. So that level of knowledge or playing with internet is very important skill set which we look at. And that we always seen the results are very good. But now, thanks to so many mentors who have created those platforms like Bug Bounty, Hall of Fame, and that is also making it very easy for people like you. So suppose I come with my resume, and in my resume, there are 100 Hall of Fame. That means I have found 100 vulnerabilities in the top 100 websites. So you understand that what kind of a skill I have now. So these are some factors and points which we look at now. And but let me tell you my experience with children. We have the best brain in our country. They just need the right direction and the right mentorship. I have been amazed with the brains I'm working with, especially at school level and college level. I have got the best of the interns in my Gurugram police or whether Hyderabad police, wherever we have done internships. And the best part is they are making the country proud. So they are doing a wonderful job, working with big MNCs as on date, or with the government of India, or with their own startups as well.
Fantastic, sir. So one more question, it just came out while you were answering, and I think this is something which I've always wanted to ask, and no better person to ask than you, sir. And this answer, I think, is not just for me, it's all for everyone out there. I believe that having acquiring the knowledge of breaking something as critical as cyber systems, that is a niche area. I mean, once you have that, you are always pulled to the dark side. So what would be your message be to the students who at some point of time get in the situation that they now know they're invincible, but what do you want to tell them not to do so that they go into the dark side and become black hat hackers?
So from day one, when I started, that was the first I worked, and the first thing which came to me was the ethics. Like as a doctor, when you become a doctor, you are given some code of ethics in medical fraternity. Similarly, when you become an ethical hacker or you have that knowledge to break in, so that word called unauthorized and authorized access, there is a very thin line between this. So suppose I'm invited by Vijay sir that, okay, Rakshit, I have this company Analogica and we have a website secured, certified, assured, so, and can you just break into it? And with your written permission, with your written power of attorney, and break into your system with your knowledge, is called authorized access. But now, without telling you, I just penetrate your site, dig out something, and I show it to you. I have committed a crime. It's an offense under Section 66 of IT Act, punishable. So, to all my young students, the first thing which you have to learn is your code of ethics and the law. You have to be a law-abiding student. It is very easy to get strayed into the dark web and sell information and earn quick money. But whether it has been case of, you have seen a lot of cases, whether it was a $1 million case of Amit Bharadwaj cryptocurrency or any big hacker which you name, at the end of the day, your digital footprint cannot be removed. Howsoever anonymous you are, howsoever you use proxies, at the end of the day, the end is very dark. So that quick money can be very catchy or very interesting for you at that time for hacking somebody's ID or breaching somebody's privacy. But at the end of the day, it will be your jail with free food and free lodging. So it is better not to break the rules and stay ethical to your code of practices. And I always advocate that it's better you work for organizations, for the country. Like today, government has created a platform called NCIIPC, National Critical Information Infrastructure Protection Center. We have a RVDP program, Responsible Vulnerability Disclosure Program. You are a student, you are a researcher, you tell us the vulnerability. They are rewarding you. They are putting your name on the website. And then now I come to Vijay sir, Santosh sir company for a job, or Paytm or Vijay Shekhar Sharma, and I show that my name is mentioned on Government of India website. I have got a double score in my interview. So I have seen it in my 20 years of experience. It is very difficult to hide your digital footprint. And so it is better the first day you teach these cybersecurity professionals, I teach them the cyber law, extensively the cyber law and the consequences, because I have seen the consequences. I have worked on so many cases and we have busted so many cases. The cyber cells have busted so many cases and they have arrested those people. And I know what is the consequence after that. One dark spot on your brain and your whole knowledge is gone into whatever. So it is better to be on the right side and you earn less, but you sleep well. And but the moment you get into the darker side, you earn very good, but you cannot sleep. You always be running, you always be scared. So what is the point of doing that? So yes, there are some children, and that was sad initially when you started seeing the NCRB report. And even today, when you see these people who have been arrested, they're all young people. You will never find a 78-year-old person trying to hack a computer or something. You will always find a 18-year-old or 22-year-old get into this. So that is a very sad part, and that is, I think, through college and academia and schools we can improve by giving them the netiquette, cyber hygiene, and digital citizenship rules. So now you are in a digital platform. Everything is online. Even my relationships, even my wedding functions, social gathering, everything is on Zoom today. We are not meeting people, so one should be taught about the digital citizenship rules.
Perfect, sir. Perfect. Thank you so much, sir. It was fantastic.
Yeah, Arjun sir, thank you.
Yes, sir.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir.